Hello everyone, today we'll talk about the problem maximum nesting depth of the parentheses. In general, the whole problem can be essentially summarized by the title, but we are given a pretty intimidating and long problem description. I think it's a good idea if you're not that familiar, or perhaps you don't use mathematical definitions all that often, to make sure that you see why this definition that we're given is actually a nice, rigorous definition of something that should intuitively be quite obvious, right? So essentially you have some things written and brackets included. Now the valid parenthesis string here is just, those brackets have to be, or parentheses, however you want to call them, have to be paired up correctly, and essentially that's it. And we're being asked for the maximum nesting depth, and of course you see that whenever we are inside an opening and closing pair, then we are one level deeper. So that's essentially what the definition is telling us. The main idea in any problem that deals with parentheses, brackets, etc. is that when you are parsing this expression, when you see a closing parentheses, then it has to match with the previous one that is open, not yet closed, because if here we had a closing parentheses, then we can forget about this whole part. And if there are different types, then in that case we also have to check if the types match. And if some problems are more difficult, then you have to have additional ideas. And if some problems like this one are simpler, we have only one type, then we can often simplify this general idea, which uses a stack. And in particular, when we have only one type of parentheses, then instead of a stack, because that stack would always consist of unclosed opening parentheses, then we just need one number, and that number is the count of currently open parentheses. And in that case, the solution is very simple, because we just progress, and whenever we see an open parentheses, then we have to increase the current depth. When one is closing, then we have to decrease the depth. We're even given a guarantee that what we are given as a string S is a valid sequence, so we don't even have to make sure that it's invalid, that it's not invalid, so that it never falls below 0, the count, right? So we would have an unmatched closing parentheses, and that of course at the end the count has to be 0 because everything has to be paired up. So let's see the code. It's really quite simple. We'll remember the maximum depth we've encountered, and that'll be our result, and the current depth we're at. We go through all the characters in our string. We don't care about anything but opening and closing parentheses. And when we see an opening one, we increase our result. When we see a closing one, we decrease our result. And you also have to, of course, make sure that our maximum result is always updated when it's necessary to do so.